Hey pen friends, it's Kaitlin. Welcome back to my cozy corner of the internet. Today I wanted to sit down with you and, ooh, that sounded so serious. Let's try again. So today I wanted to sit down with you and just have a bit of a journaling stationary chat. Recently being a couple weeks ago, I changed my journaling system up a little bit. I also ended my rings experiment, so I wanted to come on here and talk to you a bit about that, what things are looking like, and why I'm no longer playing around with rings. So that is the plan for today. So I will be first talking about why I am no longer in rings. And the rings was always an experiment, and I used that word very specifically because it really was just something that I was playing around with, trying on the side. I still had my passport bullet journal, which I was using and keeping up with. And I just was really curious about rings. So it was kind of something that I did at the beginning of February to give it a try. It wasn't a full switch in terms of my planner, and the intention was never around that. But around the end of February, so close to a month of testing out rings, I decided that the test was over, the experiment was done, and I don't know, I had my fun experimenting with the rings, and I was kind of ready to move on. The biggest reason for me was just not wanting to cut out my pages and set them up, because I did make my own pages, and I know like you can buy pages or buy printables and cut them out, but that isn't something that I prefer, and I just preferred to make my own. So for me, if I had committed to the system, I would have wanted to make my own pages, and it just kind of got to the point where I was like, you know what, this is fun, this is good, but I'm ready to move on. I've had my fun trying rings. It was cool, it was really interesting, but I'm ready to kind of move on to something else and kind of shift my planning system a little bit, because even though I was keeping up with my passport bullet journal, there were some things that were working and not working that I wanted to change up. And I still am using Passport as my planner, but I have pretty like greatly changed how I'm actually planning. So I will be sharing that with you. But yes, the rings experiment has now ended. It was fun. I'm really glad, looking back on it, that I put in a very strict rule of wanting to have been in and been experimenting with the system for more than 1 month. I had kind of in my mind, like if I kept in rings and committed to rings for 3 months, then I would maybe invest in the system and get a cover and stuff like that. I am so glad. I am so glad that I kept that kind of boundary for myself, because it made it much easier for me to be okay with ending the experiment when I wanted to, because I was just using a ring binder that I had around the house. That was my dad's. It wasn't like, oh my gosh, I've now like put all this money into this thing and now I'm gonna like stop completely. And then you're like, I don't know, for me, like I feel guilt over having the binder or having the cover and then like not using it, and I spent money on it, and like, you know, the shame spiral goes down from there. But I did make a change after ending rings. I wish I could tell you the logical thought process that happened in my brain that led me here, but I honestly, thinking back, I don't know if I can describe it well. I think I just honestly was looking at my journals, and I picked up one of my old bullet journals. This is a B6 stalogy from like, I don't even know when. Look at this guy. Oh, this is like old. Wait, what year is this? 2021. This is 2021. This was a 2021 bullet journal. Clearly, things have changed. Look, I had this like vision board. Very fun. Oh, this was the year that I bought my camera that I'm filming with now. I saved up like all the AdSense, and in 2021, I was able to buy the camera. That's kind of a cool moment, but okay, moving on. I picked up this book, and I was thinking about the tale as old as time, which is how do I want to archive my experiences? And I had been doing some reading on micro-journaling, which I found interesting. I shared with my patrons. Fun fact, I reopened my Patreon. It is now open again. I'll put a link somewhere. You can join for free to kind of see like some of the stuff, and then like the early access to videos and certain articles are for members only, but there is some free content for you if you want to kind of check it out before you become a member. But I was sharing with my patrons like this like brain dump journal entry I made, just kind of mulling over the different types of journaling that I do, my needs for journaling, and how I want to essentially document my existence, because that's something that I always come back to and always struggle to figure out. And maybe it's just an evolving thing that I'm always going to be kind of testing and moving into new books. I don't know. But I was thinking about that, and I was thinking about how with the smaller books that I was using for documenting and journaling about my life, they were very small. I was using a passport, this guy actually, and it just was feeling a bit small. I wanted to write more and just like approach it in a different way, and the small size just didn't feel right for that. And I was thinking about the cousin and how much fun I had with margins and stuff like that. So I picked up one of my old notebooks, and I don't know, I picked up the B6 because I guess B6 is kind of one of my origin stories here. Many years, and you'll see it if you look back at old videos, many years were spent in stalogy notebooks, which, man, the video skills are not happening today. But this is a stalogy notebook. This is a B6 stalogy 365-day notebook. I used like 5 of these throughout the years, and I've used A5 and I've used A6, but I picked up the B6 and I was like, hey, I haven't actually used a B6 notebook in a hot minute. It's kind of nice, the space that you get without it being too much like the A5, because I learned from the cousin was just too big for me. So honestly, I just took an old notebook that I had like a ton of pages in the back, so I was like, YOLO, why not? And I set up some pages, and I don't know if you can really call this a bullet journal. I don't think any of my journals are officially bullet journals right now. I don't really know what they are, but I just kind of used this book and tested out with this book, using this to catalog my life and my existence. And it was like very seamless to get into. I immediately knew what made sense to do. I set up the pages and then I just did it. And it was really easy to kind of fill this out as I kind of went about my week. And I'm kind of 2 weeks into this now, and I'm really enjoying this. So yeah, maybe I'll kind of share this first, and then I'll talk about what I'm using these two for. But this is kind of the main book that I'm thinking of continuing using. It's kind of a planning tool to organize my life. It's also kind of a journal. I would say it's mostly more just the book is my life. If I want to see what happened in March, I open this book. If I want to see what I was doing in March, I open this book. If I want to look at what I was learning about in March, I would look at this book. So it's just kind of the main book of my system. That's why I've been kind of calling it. And I kind of just started in March. I set up a calendar on the right. The beautiful thing of the B6 stalogy is it has 5mm grid, and this is exactly 21 squares. So a 1-page calendar fits incredibly beautifully, which is just such a like chef's kiss moment, And so I used this to kind of catalog what happened and what was happening in the month. I did the same thing as I did in my passport bullet journal. I did kind of like the dots on the days, and then wrote down below what the things were. On the right, I have my Alistair method task list. So I wrote reoccurring tasks. And these are things that I am doing every month. It's kind of a task list, but it's also like I find it interesting to look back and see what did I do every month? How often did I maybe not put away laundry, but how often did I like film my YouTube videos, things like that. At the end of the month, I want to also use this space to write down and catalog the different hobbies that I consumed. So TV shows, movies, the video games, all of that. And then right after kind of this like monthly page, I started doing this. I don't know where this came from, but I just set it up and it really worked. So I don't know, it's been really cool. The left here is my weekly page, which is the same thing I've done since the beginning of the year. I have my habits, which I track at the top. These aren't always things that like I need to do, like task related, like fill my move ring by going for walks. Some of these things are like allergies, because I learned that I actually have allergies, I think. I thought I was sick this week, and if you read these journal entries, you'll see I talk about being sick at the beginning of the week, and then later in the week, I realized that I think I've actually developed allergies as an adult person, which is like, I guess, part of adulthood. I digress, but like so weird. So like I tracked that just to see when I had them and what days were like a little more stuffy than others. And then I just have my task list, which is the same kind of thing as my monthly. And then on the right, what I did was I just kind of started writing about my day. So each paragraph is a daily entry where I write about things that happened that day that I found interesting. And I did this thing, and I think one of you already does this, and you recommended I do this. And I think I like read the recommendation and then totally forgot, but it's actually genius. What I did was I used a pencil and underlined kind of the key words around the kind of highlights or key events that happened in these daily entries. So I underlined like a video game I was playing. I underlined a hotel that was part of like a cycling event that I went to. And then I also underlined like a dinner, keepsakes, because I went to a house and was helping clean out my grandpa's things, and then another video game. So it's kind of cool because I can really easily see when looking here amongst all the writing, I can kind of draw my eye to like the key points in the events during the week, and then I can kind of read more about them if I want. So I kind of journaled about my week in these little paragraphs. I drew a margin. I do love a margin, I must say. Thank you, Megan, for the margin idea. I use my margin to write about my week. Very like kind of randomly just talking about my week at the end of the week. So I used this space for this. And then I just journaled. I have this empty space here, which I think I'm gonna glue in some screen caps I took from this video game that I started playing, because it's actually like the most beautiful art. Maybe I'll put a photo on the screen so you can see, but I want to kind of capture some of the photos that I put here. And then I just kind of started the next week right after, and I think it's really cool. I really like it. It's not complicated, but I feel like it just works, and it's really nice for it to be so seamless. And then what I did was I actually kind of added a couple pages of blank space, and then I actually had this section here, and I'll put this here because I haven't glued this in so you can like see what it would look like. But I added this section here for commonplacing, or like it's kind of commonplacing, but also I will write about events in more detail if I want to, which is something I was already doing in this book. I just brought it over here because I kind of wanted them together, but in two different sections. And again, use the margin, and just kind of each paragraph is its own entry, or like in this case, this is all part of one entry, which is listing out the different copyability blueprint locations for Kirby and the Forgotten Land. Just because it was like a lot of information, I broke it up into paragraphs, but it all kind of is one entry. And yeah, this has been really cool too. I've been really liking this. I like the amount of space that I have. I think it will also be cool to put photos in here. I think though I'm going to be more selective about what ephemera I want to keep and just keep the stuff I really like so that things don't get bulky too fast. But I don't know, I think I'm going to let that one go and not worry about it as much, because if things get bulky, they get bulky. And then yeah, this is just more commonplace entries on Kirby, which for me, like as someone who loves video games, I find this like so cool. Like this is important information that should be kept and referenced. And yeah, this is kind of what I'm doing in my main book, my life book, if you want to call it. I obviously would like to maybe put this in like a proper book, so I did pick up a B6 stalogy to do that, but this is what I'm doing now for cataloging my existence, and it's going really well. I really like it, and I never thought I would be using a B6 notebook again. Kind of wild, especially a stalogy. I do love writing on the stalogy paper. It is just so soft and it's so nice to write on, so that's been cool. So this is my main book. I will show you what these books are now so you can kind of see like the full system and what's going on there. So starting with this one, because it's probably the least complicated. This used to be my commonplace book, so I've now kind of moved that into this book. So I have kind of daily journaling, memory keeping, commonplacing all in one, because it's like capturing those aspects of my life. And then this book, all that I have in here is a grid traveler's notebook like this. And I'm not going to show you just because this is for kind of stream of consciousness entries. So in the morning, I like to write kind of whatever is on my mind, random thoughts that I personally don't like to go back and look back on often, not really in the same way as the entries I'd write here, which are more about my day. So I am keeping these in a separate book in this traveler's notebook, and this is just going to be kind of my stream of consciousness thought journal for those kind of random thoughts that I just want to think about and process. So really not like anything else beyond that. And then this, which is my passport bullet journal, I am still using for kind of organization and planning. Before I was using my passport bullet journal, which was like a 2-book system, and I've kind of switched out of that. And instead what I'm doing is I have 2 books still. I have this first book, which is a undated weekly insert from Traveler's Company. And then I have this second book, which is a field notes notebook. So in the first book, I have, I will show you, it has some like other entries in the front because I was using it for other stuff. But this is kind of what it looks like, and I'll pull this out. So I just stamped the date for March because this is undated and wrote the dates beside. And I am simply using this as a calendar. It's really nothing like polished. I just use like pencil and write in the different dates that I have in pencil so that I can erase them if things are changing. So this is really just my calendar, so I can kind of see at a glance what's happening in weeks to come. And I did add some stickers from the Traveler's Notebook sticker set to mark the days that I want to go into the office, just because I like to know that in advance. And yeah, I'm literally just using this as a calendar for all my weeks and writing them out like this. It's super, super not like anything mind-blowing. I feel like this is pretty basic, but it works really well. So just using this as my calendar, and then what I have my field notes for in a separate book is task lists. So I will open it up, but I imagine a lot of it I will have to censor. here we go. So these are just my daily task lists. So I just write the date at the top, I underline it so that I can kind of see which day is which, and then I write my task list for the day. I started using this to try to also write down my events, but I honestly just found having my tasks and just focusing on what I had to do was a lot more helpful for me. So I just kind of start one day after the other and write down all the things I have to do. And I have a book dart here for the day that I'm on. I also tried writing notes in here, but I didn't really like that either. I find for like working notes where I'm kind of editing and working through something, I actually realized I think I just prefer Apple Notes for that because I can kind of edit and modify the document and it's a bit more of a kind of living, workable medium. So I did try a note here, but I don't think I'm going to continue that in this book. So I'm just going to be using this for my daily to-do list. And the great thing about this is when I go into the office, I can either just bring this and my pen and focus on what I need to do. And then if I do want to bring my entire planner so I can see what dates I have going on, which normally I don't need to bring my calendar because I'm just looking at my work calendar, which is on my work laptop. We use Outlook. So I can either just bring this book or I can bring the entire planner and have my task list tucked back here, my weekly or my calendar in this book, and then it's all together in one very transportable package, which I really like. So yeah, we have planner, we have the stream of consciousness journal, and then I have my main book, which is monthlies, weeklies, dailies, and commonplace, and it's all just kind of journaling about my life and keeping that in one archive. And that is the plan. I'm curious to see how it goes. I think it's going to be good, and definitely, you know, I did deviate a bit from my original plan at the beginning of the year. Still have these two journals. I've just repurposed them and just, you know, I'm just using the stuff I have at home to repurpose the purpose, so that works for me. And then the only one that I'm not like using at the same time anymore is this guy for my passport bullet journal. But I kind of figure what I'll do is simply like swap out, use these covers as, I've heard people say jackets. So if I want to get a bit of a change with this book and use this one, I can just swap the cover. So treating this just more as another cover that I have for this book versus another separate book in the system. So I think in that way, it's not like wasteful in that sense. And I did finish my daily journal that I was doing in here, and I've archived that. And I will also just archive the commonplace book that I was keeping in here. So I'm still going to keep the books. I just didn't fill out those notebooks entirely, which is okay with me. And now I have this book. So that's what's going on. And that's kind of the update. I think I covered everything. I don't think I have anything else I want to go over. But if you have questions or I didn't explain something well, please let me know below and I will answer your questions. And yeah, I hope you enjoy this chill stationery chat, and I will talk. And I hope you enjoyed this hopefully relaxing, not overly chaotic journaling chat, and I will talk to you in the next video next week. So thanks for watching. Have a great week, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, everybody.